The Adventure Jogger, a podcast about trail and ultra running. Meet fascinating runners from the front, middle, and back of the pack, sharing inspiring and funny stories about life and running. Running should be fun, and so should running podcasts. I'm your host, Steven Kornhaus, and this is The Adventure Jogger. Today's episode of the Adventure Jogger podcast, I've got a guest who I've known now for, since 2020, I think it was, right before COVID. We met at a ultra marathon, and fellow Army tanker. So who would my tankers out there? And excited to have Zack Lever on the podcast here, all about the Old Glory relay that just finished in DC. It's a pretty awesome feat. So welcome, Zack, to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, and it's good to see you again. It's been a while since I've seen you, but that several years ago, might have been 2019. You might be right; it might be 2020. But great.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it might have been 2019. Is there a date?
Yeah, 2020. Yeah, 2020. We were full blown COVID, so it had to have been a year prior.
Well, see, I thought it was the COVID year, because I remember this was the end of February, and then it was like a couple weeks later, everything shut down. I thought, but I could be wrong. It could have been 2019. I don't know. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Well, how you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm doing good, real good. Just got back from DC yesterday, in fact.
Nice. Hopefully,
Nashville, and spent an hour or so just kind of hanging out, and then immediately got on my tractor and started bush hogging. So that's
nice. Well, for those that don't know you, Zack, I know you've been on a couple of other podcasts before you guys started the relay. Let's give a brief about yourself. I know you were a 25 plus year veteran of the U.S. Army, a command sergeant major, which is very high rank for those that don't know. Zack was a pretty big deal. But yeah, give us a little bit of history of yourself and kind of when you got into running. Just give us a little history there.
Yeah, I will. Well, I grew up in a small town in Washington State called Cleon, Washington, an old logging town. My dad was a logger and a truck driver, and joined the Army in 1990. Started out as an E1. That means
wow.
Taller, as Steve knows, which is kind of cool looking back. I'm glad that happened that way. Some people come in as an E2 or E3 because they talked to Buddy into joining, so they get an extra rank or whatever. But right. I came as an E1 and served all the enlisted ranks all the way through E9, which is pretty cool. And it kind of translates into what we just did in running across the United States as well, because 80% of our veterans are enlisted. So. Right. So that's a huge demographic, the E1 to E9 I was able to, relate with and bring along with me on this incredible journey we just did. So, yeah, I did 25 years in the Army, retired at Fort Campbell. I still live in Fort Campbell outside a little small town called Indian Mound. Very fortunate, very thankful, with my wife, Tracy. Kids are growing up in college. They're all coming back for Memorial Day. I can't wait to see them.
Nice.
And there were some key moments along this journey, which we'll talk about, that they jumped in and were able to see me, which was incredible. Don't forget, I got to talk about the Nashville part. But
yeah.
And then I continue to work on Fort Campbell. My wife's a nurse on Fort Campbell, so we're still very closely connected to the military and all those around us. So
that's awesome.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was say, what is it you do at Fort Campbell now? Obviously, you're a contractor of some kind.
I work for General Dynamics, a defense contracting company, and for Mission Command Systems. So the way the Army talks to each other, all their communication,
right,
all tie together, and we talk, and we go and do great things jointly around the world.
Okay, awesome. Well, when did you? I mean, obviously in the Army, especially as a private, starting out in basic and then going up through the ranks, you ran a lot as required for physical fitness tests and daily PT. But when did you make that transition to ultra running?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was a decent runner in the Army. I don't really think too much of it. I was a kid that played outside and did a lot of outside activities, so it wasn't too hard to max the PT run every time. So, but I didn't really end up, loving it until probably I did a marathon in 2014. I think I was 2004, I think. And then it wasn't until I retired from the Army in 2015, my kids were all grown up, out of the house or in college. I thought, man, let me check this ultra running out and start running. further distances. And I have land between the lakes, which is close by, which has a 59-mile trail and a few other things. So I was able to hop on a lot of stuff there and just kind of get into it. And it wasn't until Music City 50K in Nashville was the first one I was signed up for. I think that was 2019. And then, of course, right before that, I thought, man, let me go to LC Enduro, just see how that goes, because it's the last man standing, and get some good training in. And then that's where I ran into you, and
yeah.
I learned so much that day. I remember just hitting 50 miles. It was you and I, and it was I can't remember his name.
Oh, I know.
There's two of them. There was this guy named Steven that was a college kid that showed up. He hit 50 miles, and then a real good friend. I still in contact with him. I can't believe I can't say his name right now.
I know. I'm totally blanking on his name too. I see him on Strava when he runs
all the time. He ended up being in the final two with you. But yeah, I learned so much of that. I was so excited to be over 50. That was like such a huge victory for me that I was just kind of like, and of course I was going to my car because I had the crew thing figured out, and I was going by your guys' huge crew, which you guys were so nice too. Bisha, I think, was there. Your wife,
yep.
You guys were so nice. You were inviting me in. You were gonna give me aid and everything. You got.
Oh yeah.
I just kept going back to my car, and I was just happy to be there and have a good time. And of course, you won the race, which was cool. And then we went a few weeks later. We went to the Music City Ultra and did that 50K, which was supposed to be my first 50K. And yeah,
I bet that felt pretty easy after running 50 miles then.
It kind of did. I was just like, let me just kind of slog through that. It was only like 10 days afterwards or something. So I just kind of slogged through it and just kind of got through it,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember at Elsie, after you had finished, like you said, you got like 50-ish miles and stopped. And then basically you joined my crew and helped crew me for the last couple of rounds as well, and like hung out. It was awesome.
Right. Yeah. That's
a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Zach, let's go ahead and jump into the Old Glory Relay, because that's what we want to talk about, hear everything about this, because it's pretty awesome. So for those that don't know, give us a snapshot of what the Old Glory Relay was, because it's now finished, but what was it?
Okay, let's start first in your part of the history. 2004 was the first Old Glory Relay, and that's when they combined chapters across the United States that would link to each other, so you'd have thousands of people participating, which is pretty dang cool. I think last year, a couple years ago, or a few years ago, you were on one of them.
I helped with the America's Run for the Fallen.
Run for the Fallen. Okay, I knew it was something similar. But so the Old Glory team, RWB, would put these the relays together that would stretch across the United States. They go from like Seattle to Florida, combining all their chapters. So it'd be a big, couple month process.
Yeah.
And then Mike Irwin, the founder, great guy, great speaker too. He decided last year that he want the bold idea of going across the United States with just 12 veterans, picking 12 veterans and setting a world record by going the fastest across the United States with a flag. The flag never stopping the entire time.
Oh, wow.
So that started the wheels in motion. They sent out applications, hundreds, applied, and there was so many great people and so many great runners. And I just want to add the note, because some people have asked this question about the times and all that stuff. Because people in the running community love them to death, but sometimes there's some jealousy out there. I mean, how did you get picked? Why did you get picked? There was a ton of factors. First of all, I knew nobody at Team RWB prior to this, but I just put it in my packet. And one of the things their first criteria, their director, JJ Printer and Sully, told us was being a great teammate. Being a great teammate was number one. You got to spend all these days, 2-3 weeks on the road with these other runners. And, you'd have that one bad teammate, that one self-centered, egotistical person could sabotage the entire thing.
Absolutely.
So beyond the speed, it was because they had plenty of people with speed. They could have flew across the United States in 13, 14 days if they really, really wanted to. They wanted to find the best teammates that still had running experience and go ahead with that. So that was the framework they set. They went and picked a total of 12 runners. I was originally selected as a crew chief. They called me up and said, "Hey, Zach, we love your running, but we want to have someone that knows running so well, has respect in the community, served in the Army, or Sergeant Major stuff will help. And, we want to have you, kind of be in charge of these runners and tell them when to run, when not to run, and stuff like that," because they kind of figured maybe they just kind of do their own thing, which was a thought. process. And I thought about that a long time because I'm a runner. I want to run. And I talked it over with my family. I talked it over with relatives, and I jumped on board and said, you know what, this is awesome. This is bigger than me. I want to be part of it. But something in my heart, I wanted to be a runner. And they had told me, Sully and JJ had told me, the directors, that, hey, if we have to replace a runner, we're going straight to the crew chiefs because you guys all are great runners. You're just as talented as any of the other runners. It's just the role that you're fit in right now. And when they told that was it, because I knew the chances with all the people spread out the United States, there's a decent chance that I'll be able to jump in and be one of the 12 runners. And lo and behold, it happened. All three crew chiefs that came in originally as crew chiefs, great guys, Joshua Kraus, extremely fast from San Diego, Roel from Texas, another smooth running fast guy. All three of us at the very end were runners, so we were part of the 12 that started the thing in San Diego. So super cool. So 12 runners across the United States, and the way we looked at it was like, how are we going to break this up? So we broke it up into teams. Team Red, which I was a part of, team Red, White, and Blue. So White was another team of 4, and Blue was the other team of 4. And each of us would have 8 hours. So our shift all came through, and they did a bunch of stuff. We started at 1500, 3 p.m., for those of you that don't know. Went all the way to 2300 to start. And those shifts would never change. So when we moved through time zones, we just went with the time zone. So as we got to the mountain time zone, it was 1600 we started, then 17, of course. Then our last shift, 1800 to 02, once we got to Eastern time zone.
Wow.
So we started out with about half daylight, Team Red, and then about half night. And then towards the end, we were 2 hours daylight, 6 hours night. So we kind of transitioned. But that was our shift. And here was the deal. The 8 hours is on us 4. We didn't have no crew chief. We had one big crew chief, which I'll talk about later, which is a great story. But it was the 4 of us, and we had to decide how to carve up those 8 hours. Okay. And it was always changes. We went a little bit about Team Red. All of us are a combined age of 210 years old. So wow. All of us are over the age of 50, which is incredible. And we ended up doing 59 to 62 miles in the 8 hour blocks. That's what we averaged. Pretty consistent, wow. With experience, dig deep, grind and crew that we did. And we had to divide it up based on terrain, elevation, weather, all those things we had to take a look at. So there was many days when we'd start our runs doing 20-minute pulls. You run for 20 minutes, then with 3 other people, that's a 60-minute break. So it's a quick turnaround, and you're constantly back, and there's not much time. You get the Normatec boots. I know you know about those. I'm getting a pair. I'm ordering a pair. They're nice. I'm getting those constantly, and it was unbelievable how important they were. 15 minutes, 30 minutes if you could, and we just kept doing that constantly. We were the only team, I think, that used them so much. Some of the younger people, they didn't use them quite as much. But in Team Red, we used them constantly. So 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I think our average runs for Team Red was 30 to 35 minutes. And then we'd keep doing that until the shift got over. And then sometimes, people would be hurt. We have one of the teammates that got hurt a day or two, and then of course all other runners. That mean, we're running 2 hours and 30 minutes, so that's a little bit harder and strenuous on us. Yeah, but we're able to make it happen, and it was just incredible doing that. Just to keep the speeds we wanted to keep turning over. Yeah, it's easy to think, oh, I'm just going to run my hour and a half, and just do 2 runs and be done for the day. But then you start getting into nutrition, and you don't have the pace that you quite want, and you can't quite get the recovery for the next one. But if you're doing 20 to 30 minutes, you're not completely spent. You can just get right back in the cycle and back out there. Yeah, well, let's jump back then to, I guess, the formulation of the team. So you said that there was 12 people that were selected. You had to apply. What was part of that application packet that you had to submit? What were they looking for in a candidate other than being a perfect teammate? Oh, that was number one, being a teammate. And they can only get that by talking to you, interviewing you, those things for the most part. And, because I don't think there was a whole lot of word of mouth because no one really knew me on the Team RWB. I'd been part of Team RWB on a smaller scale here locally, like a local 5K I used to put on, park run. But it was a questionnaire. They asked about your running experience, some of the things you've done in running. I had, of course, my HOTS running, my Vol State, my last man. So they kind of looked at me as, okay, this probably like this guy's a grinder. He's going to bring a consistent effort, consistent pay. He'll get us through some of those tough points when we just need to get people time on feet. Because I certainly wasn't one of the fastest runners. My overall pace for this thing was 8:24.
Okay.
And I think that was 8th or 9th out of the 12. But I was pretty consistent. I was I was in the 7s a couple times, which I was super happy about.
Yeah.
But about 8:24 pace, which I'm super proud of. I think they were tracking me at 8:30. Like, Zach, if you can give 8:30 or below, you're on pace for the world record that we want. And other people had different pace. It was a pace that you had to be comfortable with, because you can't just go out and you were always on the edge because you wanted to push more, but you had 10 days left. You can't. You know how it is in running. You can't lay it out and use all your bullets. Then the next one you're in the 9s, which I'm proud, because I wasn't in the 9s the entire time. I was constantly in the 8s, sometimes the 7s. So
nice.
Very happy with that. So they asked about times. I think they asked they would like your times to be from like 7:30 to 8-minute pace consistently.
Yeah, because one of the big goals of this was to set that world record. So speed was a very important factor here.
Yeah, very, very important factor. We went 16, I think it was 16 days, 2 hours. So we were able to accomplish that. And the overall pace was a 7:43. We had young Jordan Buck from up in New York, upstate New York, that averaged a 6:53 pace the entire time.
Oh my God.
In fact, so we ended up getting faster. As a team, we got faster, which was crazy. No one knew what to think during this thing. Everyone was like, God, what's going to happen on day 10, 11, 12? Are people going to blow up? Are we going to be down to 8 people? Because the stipulations were, if you lose a runner, we have one alternate runner. That was it. But once you use up that alternate runner, it's done. It's over with. You might finish with 8 people or so.
Right.
So by day 9 or 10, I think we set a record, but I think we went 194 miles as a combined team, which during our training run in Arkansas, when we got together and rehearsed this, we went 190 miles, which was, I thought, we're never going to hit 190 miles again. We had 190 miles when we all knew we had a recovery day the next day and we'll fly.
Yeah.
We ended up hitting we hit our stride in about day 8 or 9, and people were just flying. Everyone was hitting their PRs.
Wow.
Gordon Buck, that guy that I did 6:53, he for the heck of it went out and did a fast 5K in a 5-something pace and did a PR, his own personal PR.
Carrying a flag.
That's
nuts.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Easily adds 30 seconds to your.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. We didn't know what to expect, and actually worked that we actually got faster because the training was good. I have a coach named Paul Dewitt. He's a 2-time Leadville 100 winner. And we talked about this. We trained specifically for running 4 to 5 times in an 8-hour window. He'd give me the parameters. And then we got close to the end and we talked about a taper. And we thought, for this, you can't really taper because you want to build. And you want to keep going. And you want to probably peak about day 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So we didn't do a taper because this wasn't a standard ultra like people think. It really wasn't even an ultra. Right. It was a series of half marathon plus every day for 16 days.
Wow. Okay. So after they made their selection and picked everybody for the team, it sounds like there was a training camp, like you said, in Arkansas. I think you guys met there for training camp. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we went to University Health and Performance. That's a military veteran organization as well that works real close with Team RWB. Team RWB will even spend money to send veterans down there. They don't have to be, they don't have to be athletic. They don't have to have any credentials. They could be just a guy that isn't even moving anymore, that wants to start moving and learn how to move and become a personal trainer. Those things. They have a ton of stuff, and they'll pay for all of it. The air travel, the lodging. So all those funds that Team RWB is trying to raise all goes back to veterans because they paid for so much. But anyway, they paid for us all to go down there. It was all 15 of us at the time. It's in Arkansas, very remote, very neat though. They got great facilities, an enormous gym that's world class. And we got together and we team built it. They had all kinds of team building activities to just get to know each other. We had to do 2 or 3 different character evaluations. They tried extremely hard to figure everybody out so they could pair them up in the right teams because they know how big of a deal this is.
Right. How long was this camp?
This was I think it was 3 days, the first one, and then after that we moved into Zoom meetings every Friday, and And then we went back there in March to do it again and rehearse and do the actual 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
Doing it to train as we fight. Zach Bitter, everyone knows who he is. He was along for the ride the whole time. He was essentially the guy that did all the coaching and sent out the training plans to all the runners. Not all the runners used them. In fact, I think less than half. But because most people are comfortable with who they got, Zach Bitter is incredible. He's an incredible coach.
Yeah.
Incredible things. But when you're like me, I was really comfortable with my coach. He had been with me 18 months. He knew what we were getting ready to do too. So I just kind of stuck with him. But Zach Bitter was a huge resource. He would come on Fridays and give all kinds of feedback in the stuff for all of us and answer questions.
Wow.
He was always there, and he's still there helping us.
Was he along for all 16 days as well? Was he in one of the
No, he wasn't. We didn't see him on the road, unfortunately.
Okay.
We didn't get a chance to see him. I think there was a chance we were going to try to see him in Dallas. One of the teams might have, but I know Red didn't go through Dallas. We didn't see him, but
okay. So how then? You have these 3 teams: Team Red, White, and Blue, and 12 runners. How many other people were with you every single day? Like, did you have separate RV drivers, or were you guys responsible for driving the RVs as well?
God, great question, because it applies here for sure. We had a total, including the runners, we had about 25 to 30 people on this traveling road show.
Wow.
Yeah. So every team had their own RV. We didn't sleep in it, primarily for sleep. We would nap in it, of course, and get in the Normatec boots and those things. We did not start out having RV drivers, to be honest. We didn't have that. We wanted it. We expressed frustrations with the fact that we didn't have RV drivers with the directors. They knew we wanted RV drivers, and they made the decision that they thought it was too much extra rooms. So we, for the first 5 or 6 days, we were driving ourselves, and that made it really tough because you're either running, recovering, getting ready to run, or driving. So really, I mean, you're starting to hurt nutrition then, because we would always remind each other as soon as we got in an RV, take your boots off, get in the boots, nutrition, all that stuff. It was a constant cycle we had. We helped each other because, you get that race brain. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You get done running your race brain, or you're amped up and fired up like me. I'm a real positive and energetic guy. And when I get done with running, I'm super amped or super angry. It's these parameters we all go through. So you kind of needed that. And then immediately after just a little bit of recovery, even drying yourself off, it was 95 degrees in New Mexico one day. The next day it was 30 degrees. And
oh, my goodness.
So then driving was really, really tough, And we expressed frustration with it, so much so that I'll even share this little tidbit with you. We were running in Arizona with through Phoenix, and Kristen Cinema, you might know who she is, an ex-senator.
Okay.
Came out and ran with us.
Oh, wow.
All of us, Team Red. Johnny, my teammate, used to work with her as part of her security. And she asked all of us, and asked events, she was just like, hey, this is super cool. If there was one thing that you think would improve you guys, what would it be? And all of us, without even talking to each other, out there by ourselves, we all mentioned it would be nice to have an RV driver. And I don't know if that got back to the leadership. Perhaps it did.
When a senator makes a phone call, that usually gets things rolling.
it could be. And I know our teammate Cole had his girlfriend that was willing to come out and drive for us. And in a day or so, he proposed that to the leadership. They thought, hey, this is a great idea. And so they went ahead with that. And then they were able to get with the other teams. And I think one of the fathers, Zach Plaga's dad, came out and RV drove for the other one. And then Joshua Krause's brother, Zach, another Zach, there was a lot of Zachs on this trip, came in and drove the other RV. So that was fantastic. So for the most part, we got our RV drivers, and it made it a lot better, because not only did we have the RV drivers, Steve, we had the chase vehicle drivers, and that was the ones with the BMWs. I don't know if you saw any pictures of those. Those were fantastic. They all had the service wraps, all the service were represented. It was fantastic. So the chase drivers, and we had a guy named Johnny Positive. He's on Instagram, and this guy's retired. He served in the Marine Corps. He didn't do it's 25 years, but he's retired at home now. He used to do a big gymnastics center after he got out of the Marine Corps. But he is so positive. It was so awesome to get ready to run it, because what we do is you'd have a runner on the road. Say I'm the next runner, and and typically you tell the team like, hey, check on me in 2 miles. A lot of times that's how our run started. Because if you had a lot of elevation, maybe you just go another mile after that. Sometimes you felt good, you go 2 miles. So
Right.
hey, I'm going to go 2 miles. Check on me. So 2 miles. The RV would pull up. Hey, how you doing? Hey, give me another mile and a half or something. And behind the RV was the chase vehicle. So when that happened, when you were about a mile or 2 miles out, you'd stop the RV real quick, get out, get in the chase vehicle. Chase vehicle go all the way around, go up front a mile or 2 miles, and then get your dynamic warm up and stuff. Which most of
Huh.
us did. I know I did. It was huge to me to continue to do a dynamic warm up. Easy to stop doing that after
Yeah.
doing 5 or 6 runs a day, especially that first one. You really had to get that first one in. So we'd push up there in the chase vehicle. So you got I spent a lot of time with Johnny Positive, and he was huge because he was always so positive and kept us uplifted and things like that. And it got you a little break from the RV, the madness and stuff. Because not only was the RV just the runners, at times we had the documentary crew in there. So that's two guys.
Yeah.
We're literally living on top of each other. You had to wear your speakers, your mics and stuff on the wall, and cameras constantly in your face. Which as you get tired, you start getting annoyed with that. And they did a great job. And they captured some incredible moments. And that documentary is going to be awesome. It might
Right.
even be a 6-parter. I mean, because they caught all aspects of veterans' lives. I mean, how we talk to each other, the dark humor, there was some, yeah, you know what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
There was some moments where there was tension too. I mean, people had it out with each other a couple times, and in true fashion, like most soldiers and veterans do, is they came together just 5 minutes later, you're hugging. So
Right.
it's going to be an incredible documentary. And then we had Pete in there sometime, which Pete's a guy, a Navy retired officer, and he's only like 29 years old. I think he just turned 30. And he got out of the Navy and he was going to be one of the runners. He got hurt. He had just finished biking 16,000 miles. Yeah, 16,000 miles
Oh my
in
gosh.
over 18 months, but still
Yeah.
in Europe, Asia, crazy adventure. So then he gets back, he applies, and then like 2 days later, we're in Arkansas. Guy hasn't even had a chance to decompress or do anything, and then he's thrown into this, and you can tell socially he just was like, wow. But anyway, he was training for it, and I guess he kind of got hurt, but there was some beauty in that we didn't see because he became the overall crew chief that just ran the day-to-day operations of the runners, and it was
Okay.
unbelievable. Without Pete, it was unbelievable because it allowed the two directors, to step back, worry about sponsors, worry about the meetings, worry about all these other stuff. And Pete ran the show. They handed him the keys. He would be doing the checkpoints. Here's where you're going to drop the flag and hand it off to White. He was working hotels, fixing hotels because they were jacked up for the most part, and doing so many things. Pete was just incredible, absolutely incredible. So the one crew chief for 12 was the way to go if you get the right one, because his
Yeah.
background in the Navy called for it. He worked with nuclear, stuff, and the way he talked and communicated to people was just amazing. I think one time I
Okay.
did one time I didn't have my headlamp on or something. We're lit up like a Christmas tree. I made the joke. I'm like, really, Pete? And he's like, Zach, it'd be nice if could you wear your headlamp? Of course, Pete. Anything for you. Yeah, of course. But you'd have to meet Pete. He's an
Yeah.
incredible. He's gonna have a speaking engagement in New York coming up in the fall. I'm gonna go see him on his
Okay.
doing a book on that run. But
Well, I gotta ask a question for all of the veteran listeners out there that I'm sure are dying to know the answer here. Were you forced to wear a PT belt?
no, that's funny. That's funny because I'm the sergeant major in the vehicle too, and
Right.
Cole's a retired colonel and one of the runners, and insanely talented guy. And Johnny is a retired chief warrant officer in special forces. So there was one moment I think they were needling me about the sergeant majors and the PT belt, and I flat out told them that wasn't me. I wasn't that sergeant major because I always thought it was stupid anyway.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, as long as you have a PT belt, you're safe.
Exactly.
Throw a PT belt on.
You're invincible as long as you got that
Yeah,
PT
you're
belt on.
invincible. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah. No,
So
no PT belt.
so the daily transitions then from Team Red from runner to runner, that took place out of the BMW, not out of the RV itself. Is that right? So you would get in the BMW, go ahead, do your warm up. So did that RV like kind of trail the runner the entire time?
Yes, that's what happened. The RV would protect the runner right on his rear. Yeah,
Yeah. Now,
bigger, more lit up, and you're
yeah.
able to move that BMW more. That ended up working the best. We tried many different, soldiers and veterans. We tried a bunch of different scenarios, but that ended up being the best.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we had these massive police escorts. I remember going through Knoxville. We had like 8 cop cars and motorcycles, and it was night, and they didn't let anyone pass on the left. Like nobody. I'd look behind, there'd be miles of cars until they finally they got the hint and would just like bypass or something. But they literally wouldn't let anyone pass because some cops would let one lane go by and they'd be helping them through.
Right.
But not in Knoxville. Ain't no one was getting by us. We ran 40 miles through Knoxville with nothing but cops around. And it was awesome. They were super supportive, And one more thing, I know you probably have some other questions, but one of the things Team Red had to do based on the time was we had a lot of sponsor commitments and things like that we had to do, and activations, they called them. So, and timing-wise, worked best for us because we get done at like, people say you have 8 hours running and 16 hours off, but it wasn't even close. You'd have to drive your RV about 3 to 4 hours. They're slow up ahead to get it 120, 130 miles ahead for the next day. And then you had to gas up the RV. You had to dump the gray water. All that stuff we had to do. You had to get supplies. You had to get water. You had to get ice. All these things that you normally have to do. And time would just fly by. And then you have to get to your hotel. And, oh, by the way, they weren't expecting you, or they gave up the room. Or maybe 3 out of the 16 days, the hotels worked out flawlessly. But 13 of the 16 days, there was always issues with the hotels.
Oh, man.
And so hopefully we learned some lessons from that going to next time. Some of them were just, shitters. But
yeah.
Yeah, we got to do better there, and I think everyone knows that. But it's okay. We got through it. And then, so the way we'd sleep a few hours, and then let's say they'd have, at 10 o'clock, they'd have an activation for Vitamin Shop, which was a huge sponsor, or BMW, or the Caterpillar dealership. So we'd get in at 3:30, 4 by the time you get a shower, sometimes 5, fall asleep. And then you're up at like 8:30, getting in the vehicle, getting cleaned up, putting on your face, getting ready to talk to the media, because a lot of times the media would be there with them. And we had to do several of those. And it was an honor and awesome, but it was just such a whirlwind. It's only days since it's been over. And it was fast and furious, but so much all packed into one day.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, when I did the America's Run for the Fallen, and then when I did Tennessee and then Colorado Run for the Fallen, it's the same format where you're in RVs, you have a chase car, you have a lead car, you have the same format.
Yeah.
And we had hotels we had to get through, and there was many complications there. I can imagine on this being such a larger scale where you're going from San Diego to Washington, D.C., there was more than a couple hiccups along the way, but I think that's kind of where you all as veterans are used to that. Like that's what you train for. You train for, you have a plan, you have a mission, you have a plan, but then it's like as soon as that first bullet goes down, you're like, oh shit, adapt and change. It's
you hit it, bingo. Resiliency, tenacity, toughness, and that's what the whole objective of this was to show the world that veterans are not broken, because they're kind of portrayed lately as being broken. They need a lot of help, but we're not. Veterans are not a crutch. Veterans can do the things you're talking about. They're built and wired. They're like, oh, no problem. Let's just do this then. And it happens immediately. And you have so many people that they're able to do that shift. And there's people right now sitting at home that are wondering the same thing. And they have that built-in tenacity in them to switch and the resiliency to make things great. And then the words of Mike Irwin, the director who is spoke to us in D.C. in the shadow of the Lincoln Memorial overlooking us. He said, we're not made for comfort. We're made for greatness. And I thought those words stick with me today.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So obviously, like we said, there was three RVs, 3 teams, red, white, and blue. You had the chase vehicle, 25-ish people daily doing this. What did you notice? I mean, obviously you spent all your time with Team Red, basically. Like you probably hardly ever saw the other teams, but I'm sure you guys talked at some point. What did you notice was there any significant differences in like how you guys approached your 8-hour shift between the 3 teams?
Oh yeah. They have all the stats they're dumping at us now. I think Team Red averaged their runs were like 30 to 40. And that's understandable because look at our age. It's harder for us to turn over.
Right.
We're a little bit more recovery athletes in their 50s. So we would try to because some of us, all of us, we'd start feeling good when we hit 30 minutes. So we'd want to go a little further because that's when we started feeling good. So we averaged between 30 and 40 minutes versus the other teams, white and blue, they're in their 30s, most of them. I mean, all of them. Well, they might have had one or two in their 40s, but none in their 50s like us. They were doing 20 to 30 minutes because they were just hammering the times. Team
Yeah.
was a team that started off, I mean, just flying, doing low sevens, high sixes, and just changing the flag out routinely just to really try to keep that speed up. And they're younger. That recovers so much quicker. I mean, a lot of them. Some of them weren't even using the Normatec boots. They were just eating, cheeseburgers and Doritos.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because I there's a meme out there on the internet that's totally speaks to what you're saying. Is like, it says, "What's the best method of recovery for an ultra runner?" It's like, be 20 years old. It's like,
that's exactly right. I was telling some of our teammates, I said, hey, we can do a lot of things, toughness, we can bring energy, effort. We match their effort every single time, but I can't get 30 more heartbeats.
No, exactly.
I can't get 20 more heartbeats based on their age.
Yeah. Well, so this was a pretty big organized event that was, I'm sure the logistics on the back end are just ridiculous, so massive. Just the people that put it together sounds like they did a fantastic job. But was there any kind of fundraising on the runners' parts, or did you guys, once you got accepted into this as part of the team, you were in and everything was paid for, provided for by Team RWB, and you guys didn't have to like come out of pocket for anything?
Yeah, we didn't have to come out of pocket with anything. Our obligations were some of the Instagram postings, some of that, and just spreading the message.
Okay.
Spreading the message that, hey, this is what we're doing. If you could donate, please donate. Our goal is $1 million. I think we're over 800,000 now. We're gonna reach that probably by the end of this week. So it really caught on.
Nice.
But nothing monetary from us. They handled that quite well. We got some extremely awesome wear. Stuff to wear from Gore Wear. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, incredible company. This stuff, I think I'm wearing a shirt of there now, Gore Wear with Team RWB. It's so light. I mean, they dry quick. I mean, I have an incredible amount of Gore Wear that I get to keep with me.
Nice.
And it's awesome. You talked about the logistical back end piece real quick, and one of the things that we said often during this is amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. And that's exactly what this thing was about.
Yeah. Well, that's you were a command sergeant major. I was an executive officer. So that was like our daily jobs was logistics. We were the logistics. So
exactly.
The CO had the bright idea. We had to make it happen. So
you're exactly and that's how this works, Steve. You'd love that we would do battle update briefs every night at 20:30.
Oh, cool.
The whole team would come together and do Zoom calls, and we'd do it exactly like a military operation.
That's awesome.
We had a signal chat that we all talked on and communicated on, and then we had an iPad in the vehicles of the route. So you'd pull it up; they're all marked, and you'd follow the route with the iPad. So,
it's just like looking at your BFT in your Humvee or something,
That's exactly what that was. Yeah,
that's super cool.
It was super cool, an unbelievable experience. I tell people that's my Super Bowl. That's my one Super Bowl. It's different because running is so individualized. Like it's so individualized what you do and what you put out there. Everyone could see it, slow, fast, medium. It doesn't matter. It's individualized and easy to see. This was part of a team, something bigger than myself. It wasn't, very rarely can you be, running and be part of something so big and be on a team because it's so individualized. So to be part of this huge honor, running across the bridge, and you know what I'm talking about, that bridge in Nashville?
In Nashville, yeah. I saw the video.
Bridge, Team Red. And running across that bridge was I imagine what it's like to run out of the Super Bowl tunnel to start the Super Bowl. It was massively packed, crowded. There's celebrities out there, filming you. And I'm like, that's Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck just filmed me and did an Instagram post of me crossing the bridge. And it was just.
That's awesome.
Elizabeth Hasselbeck was out there. She ran with us, the survivor lady.
Yeah.
And, it was just that was an incredible moment. That was the most incredible moment for me. One of them, the second one was on the last day. My son lives in Columbus. He drove down, met up with me, ran 4 miles with me, ran back to his truck, caught up with us with his truck, ran another 4 miles with me, ran back to his truck, got in 16 miles, and then drove home to Columbus, got into Columbus like 4 in the morning.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, damn, son, that's pretty badass. He's like, Dad,
Yeah.
that's nothing compared to what you're doing. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Then he
Now,
came out.
is your son a veteran as well, or is he in the service?
He's 24 years old. No, he's in Columbus. He just graduated from ASU.
Oh,
I
wow.
think all his time as a military brat, he'd been around it, and then we live around it. He loves the military, but he just kind of wanted to go his own path.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it sounds like you raised him well. He's out there kicking butt,
Terrific,
doing discipline. Like that's awesome. So
terrific son. My
yeah.
best buddy in the whole world.
Well, what you said they're throwing numbers at you guys now. So do you know like what was your personal like total mileage for this entire thing?
I do. I just looked. I just got these numbers not too long before the show. I had 230 miles. They had me at
Okay.
232 at an average pace of 824.
Wow.
I don't know the elevation. I don't think they kept track of that. It's probably in there in Strava because we'd push it to Strava and then they dig it off of that. And then they had some other backup systems too because we had a logbook. So I'm glad you mentioned that because this is a world record. Every time a runner started, we had to put the time and we had to put the GPS coordinates, the latitude and longitude. We had to write
Oh,
it
wow.
every single time.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I had 75 runs. 75 runs is what I had. The 75th one was the slow team jog in to the Lincoln Memorial, which was actually not part of the route. That was ceremonial, of course.
Okay.
We finished at 3,000 miles near the Iwo Jima Memorial, and that's when the time stopped. The record became set, and then we gathered from there. Dusted each other off, and a couple hours later, as a team, we all went across the bridge.
All 12 of you?
Yeah, we went
Okay.
across the bridge uh, in the Lincoln Memorial and finished right at the future site of the global war on terrorism.
Oh, wow.
And they spoke with us that the artist rendering of that global war on terrorism is going to be unveiled real soon. But that's pretty cool to do that. All of us in that on this journey, we're global war on terrorism veterans. So
Yeah. Wow. Well, you mentioned all the gore wear that you have. Was there a shoe sponsor, like were all the runners in the same brand of shoes, or is it whatever you brought?
It was whatever you brought, but GovX was a huge sponsor too, and GovX let us choose several pair of shoes. So I
Nice.
know I got some Puma Nitros and some other things, and we did some unboxing things for them. But primarily we had our own. I brought 4 shoes with me. I bought the Nike Aeroflies, Nike Vaporflies, the super speed shoes,
Yeah.
and then I brought the Hoka Clifton, not the Clifton, but the Skyward, I think they're called. So kind of like a super Clifton.
Yeah.
And then the Topo Aura, Aura. And
Okay.
I use them sometimes for some recovery, but I primarily use the super shoes. They just felt the best, nicest.
Yeah. So you mentioned then that you didn't like sleep in the RV other than to like recover between your runs in that 8-hour shift. So you guys would 8 hours in the RV or running, and then the rest of the time was dumping the RV, prepping it, media, sponsor activations. But then you actually slept in a hotel every night, so you had to get in a bed for a couple hours.
At times, I thought we were going to turn around and sleep in the RV on top of each other, but we did manage to get in a hotel every night.
Okay.
Some as low as 3 hours sleep, some as much as 7-8 hours sleep if we didn't have a sponsor obligation.
I couldn't imagine a better group of people designed for this type of thing, like veterans, because that's all that we do in training.
Yes.
Is you're out doing a training mission where it's you're only going to get 2 hours of sleep, and then you're going to go ruck 10 miles, and so it's like you guys are prepared for this. You're
prepared for this and
made for it.
I couldn't imagine, like you said, 12 regular civilians without that experience. I think it'd become too much personalities. It'd be very tough for them to do. We sit there and we call each other, funny names and hurry up, you fat F,
Yeah.
what veterans do to each other.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it is. So you mentioned the Nashville Bridge being like one of the highlights, and then obviously running with your son as well. What was there a low point for you specifically, like where it was just, I don't know what it might have been, an injury you might have been dealing with, or just lack of sleep, crappy weather, something that was like your lowest point on this adventure? Or was there a low point?
I didn't ever get extremely low. thankfully. My Achilles bothered me the entire time, and we had a doc there that helped treat it. It was primarily just over the counter, naproxen and acetaminophen, kind of kept that at bay, so it didn't inflame too much.
Right.
So that pretty much handled that. We did some KT tape, we did some lotion, and stuff. But no, that worked well. It held up well. It's sore now because I'm not taking the medication, but it'll be fine. Low points, like I said, the weather, none of that stuff really bothered me. I think it was like the second day. I might have got a little emotional after the second day was over, just because it was one of those moments where just the magnitude of the moment got to me. I was just like, wow, this is so huge. We're doing it, and we still got a long way to go. But I quickly was able to, I think it was at the hotel afterwards. It just got me kind of rattled for a second, but I just snapped right through it.
Yeah.
It's almost like I tell people on HOTS, the body by the third, if you can get through the third day, and it was the same thing for this. And I would remind my teammates, let's get through the third day, because then after that, the body just thinks, okay, this is just what I do. I wake up, I run, I recover, I go to sleep, and I just repeat. The body figures it out, and it's happened again. If you can get through the third day, you're good to go. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, no real low points. And I think it's because there was so much always going on. I didn't have time to get the poor me's about myself. It was just constantly going.
Yeah, nonstop all the time. Well, you mentioned the Nashville Bridge, like I said, but what was that the highlight of this trip for you, or was there maybe another town that you ran through that really stood out? Like, what was your favorite town that you ran through?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked. It would have to be Graham, Texas.
Okay.
Small town. You can look it up. I think it's West Texas. I swear their whole town was out. I think their whole town was out. It was small town, but there must have been thousands of people on the streets, the cops. At the very end of it, I was the one that ended up finishing the run, I think, through the town. And the cop was parked there. He got out. He was saluting as I drove by the flag. And then he handed me a coin. But the whole way, it was incredible. I mean, there was sometimes I'd come around a corner, I'd see crowds of people, and I'd get so choked up, emotional, I'd start getting teary-eyed. I'd start crying. I mean, it was so powerful and so emotional. See so many people. And, my son made the comment. He's like, Dad, you guys are like rock stars. You get out of the RV, you get running. He's like, this is Christ. And Zach, it's been unbelievable. For 2 weeks, this is my Super Bowl moment. I'll never, and I have a great life ahead of me still. I know that, but I'll never anything like this again in running. When you think about what could there be, there's nothing that could replace this for me.
That's awesome. It's such a great experience. And I've done a smaller version. I know what you're talking about. You go into a town, they've got the fire trucks with the flag hanging down. They've got all the kids from the schools are out, cheering.
Yes. It's
emotional. It's emotional.
It'll choke you up.
It is. And what I've seen tons of pictures. I've seen several Instagram videos, a lot of them from your page, but from some other people as well that were on this. Was there a requirement for how you guys carried the flag? As far as, were you able to rest it on your shoulder? Did you have to hold it out in front? What was the protocol?
The only requirement was the flag never stopped. We even had covers if it got bad weather. We never put them on. I'm kind of glad we didn't, but to keep the flag protected from elements. But the wind blows so hard.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy, but the flag never stopped, of course. But there was times when it got so windy and so hilly, you kind of have to roll it up and get it in your hand. I don't know if you guys like this to keep it from blowing all over. Yeah. And then you could stride a little bit, especially in the middle of the night. You're on a dark road, 40 miles from the nearest human. Right. You're in the middle of New Mexico. So yeah, sometimes you'd run with it like that. For the most time, it's on the shoulders, flying high. And whenever I saw people, I'd try to make a deliberate effort to hold it up higher, which would, of course, it would tire you out more. You'd be like, oh man, but you do it, you'd stick to it and do it. But yeah, no requirements. It was different techniques for different times, and time and place for everything, of course. But
right. Well, that's for most people out there have never run with the flag. They don't know what it's like. And I've got some experience with it. You've got lots of experience. And I can tell you, it is incredibly difficult. Not just the wind pushing the flag, but your hand, you're holding this pole, this flag that weighs,
Right.
Yeah, you don't have your stride. Like for me, I would always hold like whenever we'd go through an intersection or there was a bunch of people, like you said, hold it out loud, hold it up proud.
Yeah.
Your thumb up against the pole, your thumb starts aching again. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
difficult. So if you guys
It
could
is
do that for 3,000 miles,
crazy.
running fast too, like that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's
We,
tough.
shape up your sides, and I can't wait. I ran in DC, but just running without the flag, I'm gonna be like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah,
And
super
one
easy.
thing about the flag that I don't think you knew, we had a GPS on it,
Oh wow.
taped up real good the entire. And every 500 or so miles, we had to change that. So,
Was
is
that
what
for
we
the
do is we'd shuffle, and then slowly the director would come out and he'd tape it all up, and yeah, we got him running a little bit too, and then on we went
Now, was that for the world record, I assume?
for the world record. And just that GPS went to that site, so people all across America are able to
Oh,
follow,
cool.
and that worked out really well. You know,
Awesome.
I mean,
Well,
one of the stipulations, of course, for that record was no one else could hold the flag, only the 12. But
oh,
that
really?
we had to talk about that, because you get race fog and you think, hey, someone's coming along running with me. Could I run with the flag? And you're not
Right.
thinking, you pass it over, and then you just blew the whole thing. So
Oh
we
my
had to
gosh.
talk about, hey, no one holds, not even the race directors, no one was allowed to touch it except just the 12 runners.
Wow. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
you could screw that up.
I remember there were times we were doing the Tennessee Run for the Fallen. There were firefighters that joined us. They saw us running by. They came out in their like boots and everything, and they ran for like several miles. And
Yeah,
we let them carry the flag. I was like, "Holy cow! If you guys did that, that would have just shot the record." Like, oh my goodness,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
that's some stress you got to always think about.
Yeah,
Goodness.
the good thing about ours is uh, our paces were high enough that we didn't have too many people running with us. If they did,
That's
it was
true.
it was bikes. People would be on bikes. Yeah, we had a few people came out and ran with us that are actually well known in the Instagram community, some celebrities and stuff. And
Oh, really?
I think one of them happened to try to jump in with Jordan Buck, and Jordan Buck's got this quote that says, if you can't handle the pace, don't come out and run. And so essentially, I think he broke him off. I ain't gonna say his name. I love the guy, but I think in 2 minutes that guy was just like, "Wow, I'm
Oh
done." This
man,
destroyed me.
that's funny.
And,
What are some of the other people that did come out, if you're allowed to say? I don't know.
yeah, definitely. I want to talk about Paul Johnson. He came out to run. He ran across the United States and kind of started this movement. He ran across the United States and raised funds for RWB. I don't know if you saw it. He had a big finish in New York Times Square, which was awesome. He's got a huge following as well. But he came out. I think we were in Texas, and he showed up with red, and hung out with us for a little bit, and then he was with white. Super cool dude. God, he's an awesome guy. He came out and did it. Uh, like I said, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, the senator, Kristen Cinema. I'm probably missing a few.
That's cool though. That's pretty awesome. So like what what state was the most difficult? Was there one where maybe it's the elevation gain or something that really just was the most difficult to run through?
Well, blue started, with you would think it'd be red, white, blue. Red would start, but they were strategic about it because they kind of wanted us for some other things that worked out well. We're a little bit more, resilient maybe in terms of, hey, you guys got to go talk to sponsors and stuff like that and do that. So they strategically kind of placed us. And blue started. They're a bunch of gazelles, a bunch of four badass dudes, just And so they started in San Diego. And if you look at the terrain profile for the first 70 or 80 miles, we had about 20 miles of it was you climbing the entire time.
Oh wow.
So Blue had that to start, and then the second day they had it as well coming out. We had to change the route, and we had to go through Show Low, Heber, some of those small Arizona towns. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
They get pretty mountainous, and then we went kind of south into West Texas and kind of avoided the Rockies where you're from and stuff. But
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the website right now and it's really cool. They have a lot of like this tab of analytics you can see and it shows the highest point that you guys went through was 8,114 feet. Was that was that in Colorado or where was that?
no, we didn't go through Colorado. It was New Mexico, and I could have sworn I saw a sign that said 8,700 feet. So
Wow.
one of the summits. So yeah, it was. It would have been because we went through California, we went up Arizona, and then we went up north from Arizona and then came down to New Mexico and ended up going through the Rio Doso area. You know where that
Okay.
is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Rio Doso, and then in the West Texas that way.
Gotcha. Okay. And then it says total elevation gain was 114,029 feet.
Yeah, I
And
think.
then what was that?
Yeah, I think that is the total. And when people always run west to east because you have a prevailing northeasterly wind, kind of pushing it your back a little bit. Going the other way would have
Ah,
been much harder.
interesting. That's true. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
What do you know, is this something that are they going to try to do this like annually or every 5, 10 years, or is this like a one
Well,
and done thing?
I'll tell you what they're thinking because I can say it now. I love them all. But what their plan is they want to do it as soon as possibly next year. I don't know if they could turn it around that fast. It wouldn't surprise me. They want every service to do this next
Oh,
year.
really?
So they want to do the whole application process again and have the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. I don't know if you get Space Force, but they want every one of the services to be representative and have a go at this.
It'd be
That,
really it'd be really cool if they did like a think about the competition factor.
yeah,
Service versus service. Like have them all start at the same time and just like who's
yeah.
gonna win?
We talked about that. I don't know if starting at the same time would work just because when you go through some of these cities, it shuts them
That's
all
true.
down.
That's
And
true.
to have 2 or 3 teams coming through, that'd be a nightmare. But you could start them at different times, a week after each other or something.
Yeah. That'd be really cool just to see the Marines out there, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force.
I know that's the plan. I know that's the long term goal. They were just kind of keeping it low key, but they kind of informed us that's their long range goal, and
Okay.
they got what's called big fitness goals. Team RWB, you're probably aware of that. Every year you pick a big fitness goal, one that scares you, one that's not easy, one that you have to train for and work hard for, one that you
Right.
could possibly fail and do that as an individual. Well, as an organization, they do that too. So
Nice.
last year, their big fitness goal was what we just did. So next year, they're going to try to ramp it up and make it even bigger. So don't be surprised if in a few months we hear about application packets for each service.
Wow. That'd be really neat. Yeah. What what was like the worst weather you had to go through?
Red got very lucky, and I think the whole team in general got lucky. Like I was talking, like we could do this 10 more times, and we would. I don't think we'd ever have as good a weather as this. It seems like we had that cooler weather bubble following us the entire way. The second day we had 96, 97 degrees in New Mexico, and then we got into Rio Doso. It was snowing, 30 degrees. So that was wild.
Yeah.
Huge streams. I mean, there's hail. I mean, it's pretty bad. Some of the pictures blue head. When red got into it, it kind of died down, and we were kind of in this bubble. But all the way throughout the United States, it seemed like temperatures were 10 to 15 degrees cooler. Even going through my Tennessee, I thought, oh hell, it could be really bad. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just because it's still mid-May or end of May, hasn't really hit the heat of summer. I mean, summer's technically not even here yet.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was the weather overall. A 10 out of 10. It was incredible.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really, really good.
Well, what's like your personal biggest takeaway from this event?
Oh, just the impact on people and the impact on the Americans to kind of understand and see that veterans can do big things because this was all veterans, all of us broken in our own way. Every 12 of us have something that's broken about us, and we're able to fight through that resiliency and show the world that we can do big things, and all veterans can do big things. It's hardwired in them. They just got to take that first step. And hopefully we get more people moving with that. And like I said, this $1 million that they're closing in on raising goes right back into veterans. All those 5Ks, Spartan races, all those things are paid for. So veterans, and other Team RWB members can get on board without any costs. And,
Wow.
and RWB is 70% veterans, but you don't have to be a veteran to join. It can be anyone. My wife's a member. One of our local city officials is never served. He's a member. So 30% is non-member. So it's open to everyone. It's just its purpose is to get veterans moving and get to improve their quality of life. So they attack the physical side of of veterans, improve, which will translate over to mental health.
Yeah,
Pick that up.
definitely. Yeah, that's a huge factor of it for sure.
Yeah.
What is like over the 16 days you were doing this, what's the funniest, craziest, just weirdest thing that happened to you or your team?
God, I don't think about that for a minute. Yeah, one of the funniest is Johnny. Johnny, if you go on the website and saw Johnny Johnny Glenn, Johnny MF Glenn, Johnny Mother effing Glenn is his name.
Okay.
Great dude, funny, and we would cut up like crazy. And I remember, I don't know what state it was, somewhere in one of those wide open states, New Mexico or West Texas. I was going to get the flag, and it was up a hill. And sometimes towards the end of Johnny's run, I would kind of help him. I'd get dropped off, and I'd kind of go further towards him to kind of make it easy. If I'd get the flag from him sooner if I saw that he was maybe struggling a little bit. And he's dealt with some things with his health during this run where he was struggling. And so I would go down there. And one time I saw on the side of the road this lady parked, and she was missing some teeth, and she was like, "That man is so handsome. I just had to stop, and I am going to give him his phone number." And she wanted to hand it to me, and I'm like, and I just got the flag from John. I said, "Hey, there's a nice lady over there that wants to talk to you." And we were just both cracking up about that. She was waiting for him. She wanted to talk to Johnny so bad, and he was gracious towards her. I even think he directed her to the website, and she even donated or something.
Oh,
yeah,
that's so serious.
Middle of nowhere, and it was. I've ragged on him a lot for that. There was a ton of other moments too. That
I'm sure.
Yeah.
When you're doing something like that with so many people in close proximity, there's going to be so many things that happen, funny things. Yeah. And also, like you said, there's going to be some times when people aren't going to get along, and there's going to be some words exchanged, and
for sure, some fireworks for sure. And the documentary, I can't wait for the documentary. That's going to be awesome. The guy's and he said he's not, but he's got to package it. He's got to sell it, and I think it's very compelling. Someone's got to want to buy it. He said it could be anywhere from 2 hours, which I think would be short, to like a 6-parter. I mean, because there's so much content. I think they could start with us. They were with us in Arkansas when we started. I mean, they went to Johnny Glenn's house for 2 or 3 days. There's so many ways they got so much content. I just hope someone sees this and buys it, and then we see it on Netflix, because that's the goal. And it'll be really fun. It'll be fun to watch. They spent a lot of time with Team Red too. So,
do you have any idea? I mean, probably not. But like, is there an estimated time frame of when this documentary is supposed to come out? Is it going to be next year, 2 years, or?
I think it'll probably be at least a year.
That's what I would think. Something that's big, yeah.
And talking to Kerry Knight, who is the Veterans Made production owner, he was with us the whole time. He thinks it'll be that. They got some really good contacts that are promising, but all those things have to be fulfilled, of course, and go through. There's so many processes of that. And there's people that have to do all the work. I mean, they had so much footage. Like, I was astonished at how they constantly would have the camera rolling, even at 2 a.m. I would think, wow, they're done filming. Once in a while, it wasn't often, I would see them just hit a wall, and I'd be like, I'd be smiling like, yes, no more. I can relax. We broke them off, but it didn't happen very often.
I can imagine it's an undertaking filming something like that as well. So I'm sure those guys were beat, and I can't wait to see the footage, the video. Hopefully, a 6-part series or something.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Especially if that somehow gets to Netflix, like that'd be amazing.
I think it'll be terrific. I think it'll be I think people want to watch it, because it was R-rated many parts. It was It was veterans at their best, veterans at their worst. All that veteran stuff that people don't really see unless they see a deployment video of a platoon in the hill in Afghanistan. Minus the bullets, you had a lot of the veteran, humor. And speaking of bullets, there was a couple times Johnny Farmer gets a little sideways sometimes. All I had to do, or not Johnny Glenn, all I had to do was say, "Johnny, are you getting shot at?" He'd be like, "No, you're right, Zach. Thanks." Just a simple reminder, because sometimes we get so wound up, and then you just, you think that it's not that big of a deal. It's not that serious. I'd tell him.
Yeah.
Just relax. It's not that serious.
I looked up on the website Johnny Glenn. So he was 3rd Special Forces Group as well for quite a while. So.
Yeah. American, great American hero. Awesome guy. He turned on all the time, 100 miles an hour. Just would do anything for anybody, literally, even someone he didn't like. He's a terrific guy.
That's awesome. What I asked you about the funniest, craziest thing, but is there a story you can share, or you feel comfortable sharing, where there was heads butting? Something happened where somebody didn't get along, and it was just Almost came to blows.
Well, it was me and Johnny because and before this event, people were taking bets. Who's going to have the first fight? People were saying, "Hey, everyone thinks it's going to be you and Johnny," and it's just because our personalities are so type A positive. We're very energetic. We're very high energy. There's some people that tell me that they'll be like, Zach, you are the loudest person I have ever met in my life. I'm like, damn, you just said I'm the loudest person you've ever met in your life, not just in the last your life. I'm like,
right.
And Johnny's very loud, very passionate. We're very excitable. We're very strong, opinionated and stuff like that. And we were in Missouri, and it was something about a turn or something silly, of course. And we just roughed at each other. Fuck you, fuck you. I mean, back and forth, and then 5 minutes later, we were hugging and cutting up with each other and just stuff. But that was one. I think towards the end, there was a pretty good blow up. Mary's an awesome athlete with us, older athlete. She's the oldest one on the team, 55. She was dealing with some injuries and battling through it just every day. And her and Johnny the documentary crew wasn't there for that one. I think they were there for the one I just described. So I'll probably have it on because they like that kind of stuff. But,
right.
Him and Mary got into it a little bit, but it's kind of between them. But other than that, yeah, that was about the only time where the fireworks. A couple times with Johnny, which just made us that much closer.
Right. Yeah. It's
sometimes you just got to get it out.
Yeah, totally. I think you can certainly speak to this. I think there's a big commonality between, I'll say, ultra running, but also doing an event like this where you're with somebody for so long, 16 days at least, probably more with the days leading up and the days after.
Yeah.
You're with them for so long. You're going through times where you're fatigued, you're struggling, you're calorie deficient, your tempers might flare, but there's a huge commonality between that and then serving with someone as well. So it's like there's that brotherhood that forms through these shared adversities.
100%. And my wife reminded me of that today. That more lifelong friends, and these are people I'll remember and I'll keep in contact with the rest of my life. I mean, they're already planning a 5K kind of fun reunion next year already. So
nice.
There's a bunch of other events they want us to join in on. So this is something that I was able to get that experience I got with soldiers that I deployed with. I got to get it again at my age, 53 this year, by doing such an incredible event. And now I'll have this for the rest of my life. We all have our cell phones. Even this morning, right before I hopped on, we were all cutting up with each other, we have a group chat, and that group chat is always on, and it's always R-rated, and it's as you can imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know you said this is your Super Bowl, and so it's hard to top the Super Bowl. But what's next for you personally? Like, do you have races this year? Like, what's coming up for Zach?
I knew you were going to ask that question because that's a good question to ask after something like this. And everyone's been telling me, I had a couple buddies say, hey, your fitness is probably the highest it's been. Why not just jump into something, now? And I thought about it. I thought, you know what? Maybe I do a last man in 2 or 3 weeks and go ahead, get a PR on a last man. And of course, those have to go the right way. But I thought about that. I thought about, some other things. I don't know, to be honest. I'm going to let this one. And usually I'm a what's next guy. Like, I need something next. Like, my wife was even asking me what's next. And the cool thing is about this one so far, it's only been mere hours since we completed. I don't have anything that's jumping out at me. I'm in that spot now where, just chill and relax. I'm getting ready to go do some more yard work. I got 20 acres that helps my mind a lot. And I'm just going to kind of let it come to me because it's not, the real thing, and I know you know this too, and for all you runners out there listening, you have to understand it's a real thing. After getting through a big event, your first 50K, your first 50 mile, your first 100, you go through that post-run mental depression blues. It's a real thing.
Definitely.
But you get really down. I mean, you just have to keep running and training for something new and put something else on your calendar. I haven't got that yet for this one. I hope I don't, because it was, and maybe I won't because it was such a special one. But long term, there's something called a Salt and Surfer Race, 420 miles. That starts in Utah and ends in Yellowstone. I think it's coming up in August. I'm not going to do it this August, but I was looking at that for next year, perhaps something like that. I was signed up for HOTS this year. It starts in 2 weeks, but of course, with this huge opportunity. I'm not going to go to Hots this year, but I was in Hots. I was entered and ready to go, and that's going to be a fun one to watch as well this year.
Yeah, definitely. And what about something like a 200-mile race?
Yeah, I'm open to that too. Yeah, I've done so many last man standings. At times I just want to get away from that and do some point to point 100, 200-mile races.
Yeah,
something like that, because I really haven't done a real. Well, I mean, did Georgia Death Race, which is I think 74 miles and a lot of elevation, but I haven't really done a point to point long trail one. Like the No Business 100 seems like a bunch of my friends have done. I haven't done that one yet or something like that.
Yeah,
like the big long, hops ones that go through the cities and the pavement, or Last Man's. I mean, I've done so many Last Man's. I think I've done like 14 of them.
Oh wow. You're a last man veteran too. There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Well, Zach, this has been awesome to hear about this Old Glory Relay, the stories, the logistics, and just everything that occurred throughout it. I'm sure this is something that, like you said, is going to be with you for the rest of your life. You'll have these memories, these moments that are going to be there for you when you need to draw on something special. It's pretty powerful, pretty amazing to be a part of it. And I'm glad that hopefully in a year or so, we'll get to see it on Netflix or somewhere, even if it's YouTube. We'll get to see this documentary and see all about what you guys went through and experience it for ourselves a little bit. But I thank you for coming on and telling us all about it, man.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. I'm glad that we were able to do this mere hour, so fresh in my mind. I was telling my wife, it's really cool. He called me and we got this set up. Well, it's still fresh in my mind because I'm sure there'll be a few others that follow. That's normal, but to get it when it's so fresh in my mind, it is awesome. And then this awesome photograph right here that they gave me is I'll have forever, of course, and everything else in my mind. But thank you so much for having me on today. It's been great, and it's great to see you again, and I can't wait to meet you again in the future, see you again in the future.
Yeah, hopefully at a race somewhere, or we got a veterans thing going on in September. It's one of the Run for the Fallen events we're putting on here in Colorado. We're doing a different format. We're doing a different format this year instead of RVs and driving over 3 days, which is a lot of logistics and safety concerns. You're aware of vehicles on the road. So we're doing a single day format this year. That's where we're going to be running for all the fallen service members from the global war on terror and from post traumatic stress, whatever it may be. Yeah. But yeah, man, hey, if you want to come fly out to Colorado and participate, we'd love to have you.
So it's so awesome that you're continuing to do that with that project, because I know you had asked me a few years ago and I really wanted to do it, but I had another event or race I was already signed up for and I couldn't. I think it might have been Fall State even. But I remember you reaching out to me and I really wanted to do it and I felt bad I couldn't. But it's so awesome to hear you continuing to move forward with that. Super cool.
Definitely.
Love that.
So, all right, Zach. Well, it's been fun, man. Appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll stay in touch on Instagram.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. If you enjoyed this episode of the Adventure Jogger, please consider joining our Patreon and be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok for more content like this. Without your continued support, we would not be able to produce this type of content. So thank you so much to everyone that has listened, followed along, subscribed, liked, commented, you name it, donated on Patreon. Thank you.